What's going on, football fans? It's your boy J.R. Clark back again with another rendition of the Pound for Pound ATL Falcon Eye View edition, I guess you could call it. I'm going to kind of expound on something that I did a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago I did a video on the two tight end set, but the main focus of that two tight end set video was on the two tight ends that we have and how they compared to the two tight ends in Tennessee. Obviously, I'm speaking of Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst versus Jonnu Smith and Anthony Fisker up in Tennessee. Well, formerly of Tennessee. I think Jonnu's up in New England now. But anyway, I had a one of our followers reach out to me on Twitter and was asking if I would take a closer look at the 12 personnel. Which honestly is something I wanted to do anyway, but I wasn't sure that people necessarily wanted to see it, especially after doing that video earlier on Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst. But as it was still clearly on my mind and clearly on other people's minds, I figured I'd dive back into it, take a closer look at it, but this time take a look at how the formation can impact the game and how it can impact the game for our Atlanta Falcons. Now, obviously, coming from Tennessee, Arthur Smith got a lot of buzz, or not a lot of buzz, but there was a lot of talking points from people like myself, other media heads, talking about the 12 personnel and how much he liked to use it. But as you can see here, he was second in the league last year in calling that formation in the usage rates. He was at 32% only to Philadelphia. If you can see down at the very bottom of that stat, the Falcons used 12 personnel 14% of the time, 24th, which was a good 4% below league average. So you can almost bet that this is going to be an increase. There's going to be an uptick in the two tight end package set, the 12 personnel set. For those that are unaware, 12 personnel just simply means one running back, two tight ends. If you hear 13 personnel, one running back, three tight ends. 22 personnel, two running backs, two tight ends. So in a 12 personnel package, you have two tight ends and you have two wide receivers along with a running back. Now, in doing this research, I got to trying to figure out like what necessarily made 12 personnel alluring for offensive coordinators to run. And one of the first things that popped up was how balanced it was in the sense of being able to run and pass out of it. With having two tight ends, especially depending on which two tight ends you have, if you have two more athletic tight ends, such as what we have here in Atlanta, two tight ends does not limit you on pass catchers. That still has four pass catchers on the field, which if from previous videos of ours or previous coordinators, Dirk Cutter's whole playbook was predicated on like four wide set or four wide receivers. This still gives you four pass catchers on the field, but in the balance it also gives you a lot of flexibility. It gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can run without having to switch out personnel, especially if you have, average to above average blockers, which I honestly believe that Hayden Hurst is an average blocker with the potential of being an above average blocker, and it's remained to be seen how Kyle Pitts is going to block come the pro level. But what you saw from him in college is that he is a very willing blocker. So if that ends up being the case and they are able to at least elevate his game or not make it a deficit, then you will have at least two average blockers And that can open up the flexibility of the 12 personnel like dramatically. So kind of let's get into this here a little bit. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. First off, let's just start off with the base formation. Okay, your two tight ends are your Y and your H. Okay, so that's, oh, let's go this way. So that's your, cut my finger off. So that's your Y and that's your H on the other end. Okay, your Z and your X are out wide. That would be, you know, a Calvin Ridley and a Russell Gage. Presumably maybe a Tajay Sharp, depending on who really nails down that number 2. But that Z is definitely probably going to be a Calvin Ridley. But they'd be smart to move them all over. But anyway, I'm talking about wide receivers when we're over here talking about tight ends. So, in my opinion, I see Kyle Pitts as mainly your Y and Hayden Hurst as an H. It doesn't matter where you line up either Pitts or Hayden. Interchangeable to begin with, but I do see, you know, Pitts obviously separating himself from Hayden and becoming, you know, solidified tight end number 1. Now, let's take some other look at some other of the formations. This is just your base formation with 2 tight ends out there. One thing that Toby noted in a video that he did a while back was Arthur Smith's use of 2x1, 3x1 formations. And here's an example of a 3x1 with the 2 tight ends. Okay, so this is kind of what we were talking about here, and this is with the 3 vertical routes with the Y tight end kind of doing a little bit of a deep crosser. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with 2 tight ends on the field, especially 2 athletic pass catching tight ends. I use the pass catching more because that's what they're more known for. But 2 athletic tight ends such as Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts, you know, you take those guys, and we're going to take a look at the at a tight end route tree right here. And you can, in that 2 tight end set, there's a plethora of things that you can do with those guys coming out of that set. I mean, you can move the guys, you know, into motion here, like I'll show you with this one right here. Yep, okay. And see, like, you can start off in a, you know, normal, what I would call a base formation, and then motion the one tight end on the right side, quarterback's right side, and motion him over to put him into trips. And then you can have that 3x1 set that he likes to run so much. So there are just a myriad of different things that you can do with a 2 tight end set or 12 personnel that I think could potentially make this Falcons offense deadly. Okay, I honestly believe that this could be the calling card, you know, for the Atlanta Falcons, the calling card for Arthur Smith for sure. That's just my opinion there. Like, I could be, at the end of the day, I could be way off base, right? But seeing the production that Hayden had last year and the potential that Kyle has, it would almost be silly not to try to maximize it. But I want to take a closer look at some of the things that Arthur Smith was doing up in Tennessee. Now, I'm going to show you 2 plays here, and I'm going to show you these 2 plays for a reason, to show you the versatility. All right, so play 1. Let's go here. All right. Back this up just a second. All right. All right, so play 1. I want you to see here. They're lining up in a 3x2 formation. All right. So when I hit play here, the running back goes back into the backfield. Now, look, that right there, who just went into the fullback formation was Miko Pruitt. All right. He just went into the fullback formation or the fullback position. So that's yet, you know, form of versatility. Now you have Janu Smith on the line, Pruitt in the backfield with the running back. Now that's a run play, or no, that's a pass play, excuse me. But what that ends up doing is that ends up tightening up the defense. All right? And everybody's so focused on Pruitt going back in the fullback position, like that's something that, caught them off guard there, so that they become so focused on him going into that fullback position that your ex-receiver was able to, come across in the middle of the field and find a soft spot in the zone for an easy 9-10 yard pickup. Like, that's kind of how Arthur Smith's, offense was run. Offense was predicated on, creating yards after catch and finding the soft spots and moving the ball down the field. They took their shots when they were there to take, but a lot of that stuff was designed to bring the defense in, and that does a couple different things. And if I'm not, let me see if I can see this here. I want you to watch the Z receiver, which should have been, I believe, Corey Davis at the top of the screen. All right, the top of the screen when this play goes on. He is pretty wide open. And if Tannehill would have looked, that would have been an even bigger play. I'm not saying Tannehill didn't see it, but, there's that. Look, boom, he is wide open at the top of that. Look up there. Whoop, right there. He is wide open. Nobody's around him. Now, his defender fell, but still, that was one-on-one on that defender. Now he's wide open. So that's yet another way that bringing everybody in creates more space. You see what I'm saying? It creates more space between the boundary receiver and the sideline. So now I showed you that play in a sense to show you this one. All right. Bop. There we go. All right, I got to back this up. Got ahead of me there. All right, here we go. Now watch this. The guy's already coming in motion. I kind of clipped it a little soon. But this is that 3x2 already that we just saw. And it went from a 4-1 to a 3x2. Now, you see this? This is the same formation that we were looking at a second ago. A second ago, it started on this formation. And then they motioned out of it, squeezed it in, brought it, made a... I'm losing my words here, but it made it, a soft spot in the zone by shrinking, everybody in. Here, we motion from a 4x1 to a 2x3, and they're going to run it. So now the defense is looking at this going, oh man, I know this formation, but wait a minute, they motioned to it, not motioned out of it. So it has them thinking, which is what you want to do. You want to get them thinking. So when he snaps the ball this time, all right, look. This guy's looking in the backfield. You got the inside guy looking in the backfield, right? And you got the two outside receivers. One of them is Pruitt. And the other one's Corey Davis, I believe, up there at the top of your screen. They're bearing down hard, causing the defensive backs to have to backpedal. And boom, there you go. That was Pruitt who was on the inside. So I'm going to show you that one more time. All right. Gets the motion. And you got the tight end right there, a little bit detached from the line. But he's on the inside of those trips there. The ball snapped. He acts like he's going to block, releases, finds the soft spot. I mean, you can't ask for much better than that. So, in conclusion, the 12 personnel forces a defense to then have to account for all 8 gaps across the line. It makes them respect the fact that it could be a pass or it could be a run. And all predicated on what those tight ends do. If Pitts and Hurst can show just an above average or average blocking, that's going to make it even more deadly. Because it's going to make the defensive line and linebackers have to really second guess of what they're doing. Because, if Pitts goes to sell a block, chips a guy, and then releases and runs, an in-breaking route across the middle of the field where Matt Ryan is deadly as far as his intermediate throws, you go back and look at the heat map between Matt Ryan and Ryan Tannehill. They absolutely killed the middle of the field. like as do most quarterbacks. But yeah, they absolutely killed the middle of the field. And in the intermediate throws, I mean, those are where they lived. And I believe in my heart that this is something that Arthur Smith is going to try to exploit. Man, I believe he has the players to do it. Especially if you add in somebody like a Lee Smith or a Ryan Bechter, who are more blocking tight ends, but then can also cause, further confusion. Because ultimately, that's what you're doing on offense, is you're trying to make the defense second guess. And if you can come out in 12 personnel and pass or throw with the same efficiency, it's going to cause headaches for a defensive coordinator to try to counterbalance, or to kind of counter. I mean, that's just as simple as that. I really think that this could be, like I said, a calling card in the likes that we haven't seen since like 2011, 2012 with New England and their two tight end sets that absolutely just destroyed everybody. But they destroyed them because, both Gronk and Hernandez could do it all. Now, I don't think Kyle Pitts is necessarily at the level of Gronk just yet, but I do think that as this position is evolving, this tight end position evolving, I do think that you're going to see a lot more 12 personnel and the evolution of 12 personnel continue. And I think in years to come, people are going to look at and see what Arthur Smith did in Atlanta with 12 personnel and say, see, that's where it started, or that's where, a lot of people are getting some inspiration. Anyway, appreciate your time. Hopefully that answers some questions on 12 personnel, what it can do, and how it can be used for the Falcons. I hope y'all had a good 4th of July. We had a great time here. Watched a bunch of fireworks and ate some good food. Just all around good time. Thank you for anybody who put in your time and service to be able to make that happen. Y'all can catch us on Wednesday. We won't have a live show this Wednesday, but the following Wednesday we'll have a live show. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grimm1128. That's GRIMM1128. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.